Hey everybody, I'm Lindsey Lomis. I'm hanging out with Rob on Front Row Live.
I am in love with your voice. Like, I'm jumping right in on that because that was the first thing that caught my attention. It's like you have this like soulful sound to you. And you're such a young artist that it like makes me wonder how that soulful sound kind of happened. How did you discover it? Who introduced you to that sound?
Well, it's interesting because I've grown up in Nashville, which is obviously known for country music, and I'm not doing country at all. I'm very far from that. And so it's interesting, and my family they just listen to tons of different genres. For a while, I would listen to alternative and bands like Cage the Elephant, and I was obsessed with 21 Pilots for a while. Like, it's so funny the different bands and phases that I've gone through. But I think people and artists like Adele and Tori Kelly and Alan Stone and those really soulful voices are kind of what introduced me to that world. And I kind of stumbled on those people on my own. And I just fell in love with that. And it was honestly what I had most fun doing. I've always loved riffing and doing weird things with my voice. And, soul has so much riffing and just like, I just gravitated towards that immediately. And I think Tori Kelly was one of the first artists that I saw was a female songwriter, also played guitar so well. And I really admired that as a young girl and even her lyrics and everything. And again, the soul is totally in her style. And that definitely is kind of what introduced me to that world.
And the fact that it's artists that you grew up listening to that made you want to like do what you do. I feel like it's hard when that happens. I feel like it's hard to kind of like be an artist similar to that, but not sound like them. You kind of were able to create your own lane in this sense. What was that artist development like for you? And like, how did you know when this sound that we hear today is Lindsey?
Right. Well, it is kind of an interesting process, and I feel like I'm still in the midst of that process of figuring out, my voice as an artist. And obviously, looking up to those incredible artists, I was like, I just want to be Adele. I just want to sing exactly like her and write like that. But you have to find your own voice and be your own artist. And I really discovered that in these past couple years of co-writing and working with different people and kind of finding my own voice in this world. And it kind of came naturally. I mean, as I started songwriting, it was when it really became apparent that I was like, okay, I'm not only an artist, I'm a songwriter. And that alone, I think, really helped me find my own sound. Just the fact that I can be a part of the song making process. And, even playing guitar and things like that really helped mold that. And then as far as the sound today, it was really just like trial and error, just working with a ton of different people. And it was kind of my first time co-writing these past couple of years, and so that's been really fun, and I just fell in love with it. And I sort of just knew which songs were me after I wrote them, and I was like, okay, this is like what I want to go towards. This is the world that I love. And it just like as a singer as well, I think sometimes you just feel it, like feel what's right for you, even vocally or emotionally or whatever. You just sort of like know once you write it. And obviously it can sometimes be hard to tell because there are some songs where I'm like, this song means everything to me, but there's something about the style that's not right and things like that. And I think that's the back and forth trying to find who you are as an artist. But with this EP that we're releasing, it's just all of those songs that I was like, okay, this is me. This is like 100% Lindsey.
Now I completely understand the title "In the Madness" because I'm
Yes.
sure, like, I mean, I know 2019 was a busy year for you. It was a successful year for you as well. Like, so many kind of discoveries from major artists, Alan Stone being one of them, and like, now you're signed to Altadena and Warner Records, like, which is like major. Like, congratulations with that. But before we actually jump into In the Madness, like, talk to me about creating this new single, Slow Motion, and how awesome was it also being able to collaborate with JoJo?
Crazy. It's so crazy. I still can't believe that it's real. I love JoJo, and obviously she's on Warner as well. And the song came about, I just wrote it with my producer. It was actually the night before I signed. And I remember I was FaceTiming my friend who was back in Nashville and I was in LA, and we were just like, catching up and everything. And then when we wrote Slow Motion, she was just on my mind, and I sort of wrote this song kind of as a note to her. And I think like any friendship, you just want to be able to tell someone like, take a deep breath, stop, putting on a face for someone. Like you are not, you don't have to be anything that you're not. And I think I need to hear that a lot too. So sometimes I'm like, oh my gosh, slow it down, Lindsay. Like I kind of sing this song to myself. And I think that's the cool thing about it right now, especially obviously we've all been forced to slow down. But I think it's more about just the stress of everything and just being able to like take your time and have some perspective. And obviously when JoJo agreed to singing on it, I was like blown away. And I just remember I was actually on FaceTime with that same friend when I got JoJo's vocals, and I was just like tearing up, and it was just such a surreal moment. I mean, she has such an iconic voice, and hearing her sing my lyrics was just like the craziest thing ever, and it was amazing.
And then you guys collaborated with the music video as well. Like, so it's like, it's not just like, hey, I'm sending you my vocals, do whatever you want. It's like, here's my vocals for the collab, but we're also doing a video together. I feel like, especially with this year, it's kind of difficult, but I feel like it's been pretty common when artists collaborate and then there's a music video, but that collaboration isn't there. And then those two artists just never get to meet. So that's like amazing that you got like the full package.
Totally. And I think that was the coolest thing, is that she was willing to help out a young artist that, has nothing to my name yet. And the fact that she was, willing to take the time out of her day. And it really was a learning process for me, and getting to see someone like her who's just an absolute pro do what she does. I was like, oh, I could do that one day. And so it was really inspiring just getting to talk to her and like learn from her. It was amazing.
Now, you mentioned you wrote this song the night you signed, like, being that you're a young artist, but you're also young yourself, like, and then coming into this world, this like, business world in a sense, like major label, that's huge. Like that must be nerve-wracking at the same time as it is exciting. Um, like, what does that signing mean to you? And like, how did you feel about it once you found out that, this was really happening?
Yeah. Well, for me, it was sort of building these relationships with my team and the people that I obviously did eventually sign with kind of before we even talked about signing. And I think that was what was really important to me, is that I love these people for who they are, not only for, what they're doing in the industry. I feel like it's really important that I can trust the people I'm working with, and they're all just such kind-hearted people. And I think that we just gravitated toward each other. And in the process of kind of meeting with different people, is just like no red flags. And yeah, they were just like the perfect people. And then eventually when we did sign, obviously it was like a huge milestone, and it was really special. They had like, we were in the LA Warner office, and they had like little champagnes for everyone, and they got like apple juice for me. And it was amazing. It was just like a very, they understand my age and they respect me like I am, an adult, but at the same time, they are not going to, push me in areas that I don't want to be pushed. And I really respect that.
That's amazing. I mean, I love, the people that work at Warner that I, get to work with
Yeah.
almost daily. Like it almost feels like we're family. So I can only imagine what it's like to be like a signed artist to them.
Totally. Yeah, no, it's crazy. And obviously there's still, the little girl in me who's like, oh my God, I'm signed to Warner. This is insane. I've known that since I was, a little kid, and it's insane. And so it is very surreal, and I'm still, freaking out, but it's also like, okay, this is happening. This is like
So as you got to like become an adult, as you were working on this debut EP, like,
right.
take me into that studio and creating these 6 tracks. Like, what, how did you know that these 6 tracks would make In the Madness?
So that's an interesting question, because I sort of have been co-writing, I guess, for the past 2 years, as I was talking with Altadena and Warner, and have met and written with tons and tons of people. But every single song on the EP I wrote with Ryan Daly, my producer. And so it's kind of just like a ton of different writing. But once I did find Ryan, which was like the first song we wrote together was Feel, it was just like an instant click. And I feel really grateful that I have that type of relationship, because he just understands. He just completely understands the sound, me as a person. And so it was really easy to write with him. And yes, we essentially kind of like wrote all these songs over a long period of time. And it's funny, the title track, Magic in the Madness, we wrote with Riley and Connor McDonough, these two brothers. And we wrote that actually a really long time ago, even though the song itself, it feels like it was written applies so much. But it really, like, that song was what put the entire EP together for me. Obviously, the EP is named after it, In the Madness, but it really just felt so relevant and relevant even out of these times. You know, I wrote it before we even entered this crazy world, and I think it's a message that every single person can understand. And so that song really just put it all together for me.
And talk to me more about like collaborating with Ryan. Like, how does he challenge you? How does he make you a better singer? How does he make you a better writer? Like, what really goes on behind the scenes?
So he basically is like an older brother to me. Like, we just make fun of each other the entire time. That's the
It's supposed to be working.
exactly. No, if you came in during a session, you would not think we were working. But that's the type of like relationship that I love, is when we can just completely just, you know, mess around. And I think just being that comfortable with somebody is really important in the studio. And even in our first session before we had ever met, we worked till like 4 a.m. and just like he saw my delusional 4 a.m. self. And so that was sort of like, okay, here it is. It's all out in the open now. And yeah, I think it's interesting because I started working with him on a period where I was like only playing with my guitar, and so he sort of like brought out this like musicality of a track, which I was sort of like, tracks, but now I have so much respect for people who can put one together incredibly like he does. And so working with him is really fun because I feel like we get to blend both of those worlds of like real music and also the track stuff and just experimenting with different sounds. I think that's a level that I couldn't really attain on my own, because I didn't have that kind of producer background. And so the more that he shows me, the more I'm like, oh, let's try that sound, let's do this. And so it's just a lot of like experimenting. And I think the freedom to do that is what makes the music, you know?
And as far as like your vocals, yeah, I mean, your voice is insane. Your range is even more insane. Um, you know, like I'm like, I can't even speak just because I'm like thinking about the song all over again. But like, how did you, you know, how did you learn to sing the way that you do? And how did you learn to hit those ranges and, you know, at the same time be able to control them? Because like on this new song, Slow Motion, there was a couple portions where just doing ooh hoo hoos like with like high pitches, I was just like, how does that happen?
First of all, thank you so much. Second of all, it's like, it's a ton of, I mean, I just have fun with it. I love doing, I mean, the oohs and everything. I just like, I'll do that around my house all day long and annoy my family so much, but it's just so much fun for me. And so I think I like gravitate towards the riffs and towards, you know, trying to expand my range and trying new things with that. And even since I was younger, obviously I've been singing since I was a really little kid. So I've had a ton of practice, and I took vocal lessons for about 3 years, starting around 10 years old. And so that obviously helped. And they were very like relaxed vocal lessons where we literally just sing songs. It wasn't any type of warm-ups or anything. And I think that really helped me develop my style naturally and not trying to push my voice to do something, because I'm not a belter, but I have my own way of singing that works for me. And yeah, it's really just a lot of having fun and, you know, blending the stuff that I listen to other artists do, but also being like, oh, I can't do that, so I'm going to try this instead, and I like it better for myself, and that kind of thing.
With this EP, like I guess the voice wasn't much of a challenge for you, but like with this EP, like what do you feel was the biggest challenge for you? It doesn't matter which track, just you know, just as a whole, like
Yeah,
were there any like challenges that you felt that you faced, or was this just like a easy breezy kind of situation for you?
it was a little bit of both. I think the main challenge was being like, okay, who exactly am I? I've been writing all of these songs for these years. I've had like a ton of songs, a ton of demos. Like, how do I choose? And obviously, my parents, who aren't as much or aren't in the industry at all, are like, you have so many songs, just put them all out. Like, what are you doing? I'm like, no, it has to be more like more strategic and more personal. I feel like putting together this EP, that's why I feel really excited about it that we finally did, you know, find these group of songs that feel so fitting to who I am, especially right now, because obviously that will change. I'm growing up, I'm only 17. Next year, I'm going to be a completely new person. So I think it was the challenge of being like, okay, what exactly do I want to say? How do I want to use my voice and just, you know, what do I want to tell people right now? Because there's so much craziness going on. I mean, how can I help with that instead of hurt that? And so I really think did a good job of making just a really honest EP.
And lastly, you know, this EP is, you know, you put your heart and soul into it, but when your fans or when music fans listen to it, what would you like for them to get out of it?
Yeah, that's a great question. I want them to hear the honesty. I want them to feel like I'm singing to them personally, because I feel like I am when I am singing. You know, obviously I want this song to click with so many different people, but what I really want people to get from it is that there's true emotion in music, even in pop music. You know, there's so many things that are left to say, and I think it can be really discouraging at times looking at all this array of tons of incredible artists, and it's like, oh, where do I fit in? But you do fit in. And I hope that this music speaks to you and just feels like it kind of relieves that stress and sparks some sort of inspiration.
That's amazing. Well, congratulations within the madness. By the time you guys are watching it, this EP is out now. So I'm super excited for you. I like the fact that you're young, you're a new artist, and you're signed with Warner. Like, I think you've got the full package.
It means so much.
Well, thank you for taking the time. Congratulations once again. And hopefully next time we'll be doing this in person.
Yes, please.